Welcome, everybody. Friday Night Football is underway. Week 9 in the Carroll County Athletic League. I'm Pat Stoetzer of the Community Media Center, and we're going to try something new for you tonight. We've got some action from all around the county. Hopefully, we're going to have some updates and scores from the Liberty and Century game and the South Carroll Francis Scott Key game, courtesy of some cameras of our own and NFHS Network. But we're also just underway with Westminster Winners Mill, the key to the city game between the Falcons and the Owls, and there's a lot of stakes on the line. We'll get into all that. First, though, I caught up with the coaches ahead of the week. The coaches of the three teams that are tied for first place in the CCAL: Liberty coach Larry Luth, South Carroll coach Mike Kraus, and Westminster coach Chris Basler, as their teams are getting ready for their big matchups this week. So let's see what those guys had to say, and then we'll get right back into the action. Coach Luth, 1 week to go, and a big game on the line for your boys. Coming off of last week's game, though, how it doesn't take much, I would think, to motivate these guys knowing what's at stake in a county championship.
Yeah, we're kind of used to those close games. So, we came in, did our work on Saturday and Monday, and it's been practice as usual. Obviously, we're fortunate at Century because there's that natural rivalry, and that's going to help keep our kids up for the game. Obviously, we went in last week with the idea that we could win it outright by ourselves, but I guess a share of it's better than not being in it at all. And we're still going to probably end up seeded second in the playoff race. So we still got a lot of football ahead of us. Again, we were disappointed, but it's just another opportunity. So we're still fortunate we get a lot of football to play.
Thanks to Coach Larry Luth. Next up, I talked with South Carroll coach Mike Kraus. His team's getting ready to play Francis Scott Key this evening. Let's hear what Coach Kraus had to say as the Cavaliers also try to finish 5-1 in the county and earn a piece of the county championship. Coach, how important is a county championship to these fellas, especially since what happened last year, and now you're in position to win another one? I know it's likely a piece of a county title, but still a pretty big goal for the Cavs from this fall?
Most definitely. I think the overwhelming thing is that they finished high in the county and they know that they had the opportunity to take that share of that title.
Coming off of last week's game, I know it was an easy win for you guys in terms of the score, but is the motivation or the emphasis this week, hey, look, we still got to win a game if we want to be county champions?
No question. It's one game at a time. Each game is as important as the last and the one in front of us, so we're not looking past FSK. We know that they're going to come out and give us their best game.
Thanks to Coach Kraus. And last but not least, as we get ready to watch a little bit of the action between Westminster and Winners Mill, I caught up with Owls coach Chris Basler. Again, his team also trying to earn a little piece of that county championship. Let's hear what Coach Basler had to say. Coach, in order to be in this position, you had to get a win last week, and you guys did. So now the county championship is still alive for you guys. How important is that to these boys as the regular season comes to an end here in week 9?
I mean, I think it's obviously important to us. I think we talk all the time. We have two goals. We want short-term goals to win the next game, long-term goals to win a state championship. And for us, there's just as much on the line this week as there was last week. We're still fighting for a playoff seed, still fighting. We got to win a county championship before we win a state championship. And I think it means a lot to all of us.
How do the kids look at the playoffs as the next rung on the ladder? Like you just mentioned, counties first, and then you go into the playoffs and roll the dice.
Yeah, I think we haven't really talked about the playoffs yet. I think we're pretty focused about trying to beat Winners Mill. They've shown this year that they can play with anybody on any given night, and we'll worry about the playoffs next week. I think this week it's been all about trying to beat the Falcons.
Thanks to Coach Chris Basler, and that's where we stand. South Carroll, Westminster, and Liberty, all 4-1 in the Carroll County Athletic League with one game to play. My co-host tonight, sitting in the command center here at the Community Media Center, is Bob Bluebaugh. He and I have seen a lot of high school football through the years, and we've actually been a long time, I believe, since there was a co-county champion of any kind. Bob, is that correct?
That's absolutely right, Pat. It's been since 2001 where we had 3 county champions. So we are sitting here, we're back in the command center, like you said. We're monitoring all the games. We'd hope to bring you some highlights from Century Liberty. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to have some technical difficulties, but we definitely should have some highlights for you from the FSK game, and then we're going to get to sit down and take a good look at the Westminster Winners Mill game tonight.
Great. The Liberty Century game kicked off at 6. I do know that it's halftime there, and Liberty leads 35-0, so a really big start for the Lions as they try to, like we said, finish at 5-1 in the county. At 6:30, the kickoff was between South Carroll and Francis Scott Key out in Uniontown. The footage we'll see is courtesy of the NFHS Network, and looking on social media and trying to follow along a little bit, South Carroll's out to a double-digit lead there as well. I believe 18-0, 16-0 for the Cavs early on. But Winters Mill Westminster has kicked off a few minutes ago. Winters Mill got the ball first, and we can take you to some of that coverage right now as we get ready for that key to the city game between the Owls and the Falcons. It's been a long time since Winters Mill defeated Westminster, Bob, all the way back to 2007, and that counts for 12 straight wins for Westminster. We've seen Westminster a few times on our CMSportsNet Game of the Week. We also had Winters Mill, some coverage of them too. What's Winters Mill's biggest thing they have to do, do you think, Bob, in terms of trying to limit Westminster on offense?
Well, Westminster's got such a dynamic offense with Kyrese Walker, quarterback, Mason Fisher, wide receiver, a whole bevy of running backs. They're going to have their work cut out for them.
But as we know, we've seen Winters Mill a couple times, or at least just followed their progress. They've held their own. They hung with South Carroll down to the final minutes of that game before South Carroll pulled it out a few weeks ago. And this is a rivalry game, like all these games are in Week 9. So that certainly will keep things close. And it looks like the Falcons, I believe, this is their first possession, and they're up near midfield. That's number 24, Luke Snyder, with a couple carries there for the Falcons, who are wearing their home burgundies, and Westminster in the white on the road. Here in the key to the city game, sort of the plaque or a trophy that the guys get to get. Whoever wins gets the quote-unquote key to the city for the year. But like I mentioned, it's been all Westminster in the last decade or so.
Well, it was going to be interesting to see if Winters Mill could find a way to slow Westminster down and maybe pull off an upset tonight. All three of these teams, I mean, it was certainly expected to be a coronation tonight for Liberty, for South Carroll, for Westminster to become those county champions. But, these, like you said, it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. But it doesn't look like the upset is in the cards down in Century at this point. FSK off to a slow start too, so Winters Mill might be the last home team with a chance to win tonight.
Right. And like you said, they had the ball near midfield here in the first quarter of the game between Westminster and Winters Mill. Westminster, of course, on offense. Before I get to them, Winters Mill's offense, led by Sean Restivo with 348 rushing yards. He's tops on the team. But Luke Snyder has been able to carry the ball a little bit on this first drive, and it looks like Westminster's defense did come up with a stop. Well, that's a nice punt by Camden Cook of Winters Mill. Let's take a look at those Carroll County Athletic League standings with 1 week to go, and at least we are in the final week of the regular season. And like Bob said, you can see South Carroll, Westminster, and Liberty all tied at 4-1 atop the league. Man Valley's done with county play. They're 3-3. They play Poolesville tonight in their Week 9 game down in Montgomery County. Winters Mill again 2-3 with 1 game left in the county to go, and then Century and FSK round out the bottom of the county football standings here with 1 game to go in the regular season, and then of course the regional playoffs begin. Everyone qualifies for the playoffs if they want to play, and so all 7 of those teams will be eligible for playoffs. It looks like a great punt from Camden Cook has pinned Westminster deep, and now Westminster's on offense for the first time inside their own 10. Quarterback is number 2, Kyrese Walker.
It's going to be important that Westminster not make any mistakes tonight. That's what happened to them in their loss against South Carroll. It almost cost them against Liberty. Some penalties at inopportune times, some turnovers, that sort of thing. But all in all, it should not come as any surprise that these 3 teams are here tonight, tied for first place. They've been the best teams over the past few years. Liberty won the county title in 2018. Westminster won it in 2019 and 20, although the 20 season was played in the spring of 21. And, of course, South Carroll won last fall with an undefeated season. So they've been the class of the county the last few years.
Yeah, no doubt. You heard Coach Luce kind of joke and say that he and I spoke during the summer, and I said those are the 3 teams to beat, and he called me prophetic. I don't know how smart that was. It was a pretty well-known fact. I think those are the top 3 teams. And, incomplete pass there, trying to get it to Clayton Dorsey. A dangerous throw there for Kyrese. That might be a 3-and-out for Westminster. So early on way, we've got a pretty good defensive stop by by Winters Mill. So they might get the ball in good field position.
Well, it's critical for the Falcons to get off to a good start. They've got to believe. They got to believe that they can, play with Westminster and win this game.
Right.
Didn't happen down in Century. It's a bad start for the Knights. It was a bad start for FSK in those games. So we'll have to see if the Falcons can get off to a better start. Then anything can happen.
We're going to try to give you a little footage here of South Carroll. I believe they're in scoring position here at Francis Scott Key. Again, that footage is courtesy of the NFHS Network. And in a minute here, we'll flash to Uniontown. And just want to tell you a little bit about that series as well while we have a second. Cavaliers have really dominated this series. 13 of the last 14 have been victories for South Carroll. A.J. Rodriguez, we know about him, of course. Everyone who follows Carroll County football, Bob knows he's the leader of rushing yards and touchdowns this year. He's got over 1,000 yards rushing. He's got 18 touchdowns. I think he's second all time now in South Carroll history. It's quite a career it's been for number one, A.J. Rodriguez, who I believe scored earlier in this game, the first points of the game for them.
I was going to say, I don't think he has 18 touchdowns anymore.
Good point. Good point. There's Winters Mill. We're watching Winters Mill kind of over the 40-yard line. And let's go to South Carroll FSK game from the NFHS cameras and see if the Cavaliers can punch this in. They were right around the 20-yard line. And I'll take a guess and say that is going to be A.J. Rodriguez running that in from about 20 yards, Bob, and it looks like a 22-0 lead for South Carroll. And the early games are already making statements by the teams that want nothing more than to win this county championship, and that's Liberty against Century and South Carroll against Francis Scott Key.
Right. They were clearly the favorites tonight, but you never know what happens if a team does get off to a good start. But obviously, South Carroll wasn't going to let that happen. Liberty wasn't going to let that happen. So we'll have to see what Westminster does.
Yeah, and while those scores are lopsided, those kids obviously want to perform at their best in a rivalry type setting, and that's what's happening right now with Westminster and Winters Mill. We'll take you back to that. We'll take you back to that one. I think the Falcons are nearing the red zone for the first time. It was a big run a minute ago from number 8, Caleb Crouch, the quarterback, and wow, wouldn't this be a really fast start and a fast surprise if the Falcons can put some points on the board here in this first quarter? But they can't do that. They can't make mistakes. Much like Westminster can't make mistakes, they can't be fumbling their own snaps. That was number 2, Nico Baez on a run, just like a little bit of a botched handoff. That's going to lose them about 5 yards there. But anyway, Wintersville moved the ball on their first drive, punted deep. Westminster couldn't do much with their opening drive, and already the Falcons are back inside the 30-yard line. So it's going to be important for them to make an early statement, I think, if they want to try to hang with the Owls.
Well, and like you said, they can't make mistakes. They almost have to play a perfect game tonight.
Right.
So
Yeah, you're right about that. See what they do here with trips to the left. Wintersville's offense. Coach Matt Miller trying to get his team to 500. Another direct snap for the quarterback, Caleb Crouch, number 8. A couple yards back from that penalty, but they had that unique situation, a scary situation earlier in the season. They were playing their season opener. It might have been week 2, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But I know it was early in the season, playing a non-county game out in Frederick County, playing St. John's Prospect Hall. The game didn't get finished; only got to the second quarter. It had to be postponed. There was obviously a life-threatening situation. We've talked about it. You've read about it probably if you're paying attention. But the young man from Winters Mill, Grayson Lyons, it turned out to be okay, but it was a very scary deal. And anyway, that game didn't get finished, and so I believe, according to the state anyway, it doesn't count as a game. So that's why Winters Mill is only 3-4 overall, and 2-3 in the county, of course. But they've got 7 games while everyone else has played 8. Okay. Let's go back and take a look then at FSK South Carroll. We may have some highlights here from the most recent touchdown. We'll get to that in a second, but there's a timeout on the field at Winters Mill. No score there in the first quarter with the Owls and the Falcons, and like we said, South Carroll up pretty big on Key so far, 22-0. I think A.J. Rodriguez has 2 touchdowns so far early in this game, and Liberty just poured it on early from what I was getting on my phone and kind of watching on social media. 35-0 early on. Century couldn't get much going. They had a nice run from Trey Helmick that I could see in the second quarter, but other than that, it's been all Liberty with Jack Pelishati at quarterback, Sam Evans at receiver, and Seth Jacobs, some of those weapons on Liberty's offense. It's going to be tough for Century to keep pace, and obviously they're not keeping pace right now. We're back to Winters Mill after the timeout. There's another nice run from the Falcons. They're inside the 20, I think, now.
And the pitch to Baez.
So that was Baez again. Nico Baez, a 5'11", 185-pound junior running back. And all right, looks like the FSK's got some highlights. The South Carroll FSK game, some highlights are ready. We can go to Uniontown and see. Going to see something later. There we go. Here's A.J. Rodriguez, his first touchdown in the game. Just a nice way to get around the side. I mean, it just shows you how fast he is. I mean, you got to stay in front of A.J. Rodriguez, a player of his caliber, in order to make any tackle on him. And he scored deep there for the Cavaliers. And I believe the Cavs opted not to kick the extra point. They went for 2 after the touchdown from Rodriguez. I don't know if we'll see the two-point conversion here or not, but I think it was a pass play from Carter Mazalewski. So they didn't even bring out the kicker. I wonder if Coach Krause has an injury he's dealing with, or he just felt like going for two. But you'll see here they line up for two. And Carter Mazalewski, the quarterback for South Carroll, is going to roll this way toward the near side, wait for Nate Bohr to sort of find some space. And Nate Bohr, that is a tremendous catch.
How about that catch? One-handed.
Yeah, I mean, one-handed in the back of the end zone, no less. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a highlight play that really is just a two-point play. So that was 8-0 South Carroll, and they're obviously on their way to a big first-half lead. I think we might have some points in the Winters Mill-Westminster game. It was a fourth down. The Owls stopped them on fourth down, but I think we're going to see, if we can get to it in a second, we'll see Winters Mill attempt a field goal. Of course, they have a really good kicker in Camden Cook, who's been around for a while. His brother was on the team, and football fans know his dad, Sam Cook, former punter of the Ravens.
Knew a little bit about kicking that football.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Here's some more highlights, though, first, I believe, from the South Carroll FSK. Yeah, that's not the correct way. The NFHS scoreboard is incorrect, but I know it's 22-0 South Carroll so far right now anyway. And here's some more scoring from South Carroll. Nice pass from Mazalewski over the middle, and no defender behind for FSK. And a long touchdown pass. Look, it looks like 30-0 now, Cavaliers. So you got two blowouts and one close game so far in Week 9 here as our Friday Night Football whip-around coverage, doing our best to try to keep tabs on all the games. Let's take a look at that field goal like we talked about. Camden Cook lining up for what looks to be about almost a 35-yard field goal here. If he can hit it, that would give Winters Mill a 3-0 lead. Again, it was a fourth down stop for the Owls, but let's see what Cook does. There's no doubt about it.
It's got the distance.
Yeah, no doubt. Plenty of distance.
It's up and it's good.
And there you go. So Winters Mill taking a 3-0 lead in that first quarter.
Are you on upset alert yet, Pat?
We got a long way to go, I think. I think we're back to live action now at Westminster, and the Owls are on offense here at the 30-yard line. And Kyrese Walker looking to make a throw. Ooh, another dangerous throw, but a catch is made. It's like number 9, yeah, Clayton Dorsey. Yeah, that was a little bit of a dangerous throw there. Winters Mill's defense is keeping these receivers honest so far here.
Close to, and it will get an Owl first down.
That was enough for a first down. I can hear Falcons PA announcer John Lowe calling out the plays down there at Winters Mill. And again, just a great start. If you're a Winters Mill fan, you got to like how that started. No points for the Owls, and Winters Mill up to it late. And that might be the end of the first quarter there too at Westminster, unless another timeout was called. But we might be able to give you some Century highlights. Liberty and Century in the third quarter here already as the running clock is in effect, with the Lions up 35-0 and on their way to at least doing their part to become 5-1 in the county and 6-3 overall. Let's take a look and see if we can see some highlights here from the Century Liberty game. Oh, and of course we come right to it, and there's a big stop on a big play on defense by Century. So they're still playing. Those Knights are still playing. They don't want to. They want to try to avoid the shutout. They want to try to get some points on the board and at least make this respectable.
Absolutely, nice to see them still playing hard.
Yeah, it is, because they certainly don't. You wouldn't blame them if they just sort of called this one quits and let the clock run out and go home and enjoy themselves. But they there's some pride there. They definitely want to. Make a mark here in this Freedom Bell game as we see Jack Pelishati on offense, elude a sack. Oh, throw it up for grabs. Oh, boy. I know the outcome, it might be decided, but number 22 for Century, Dom D'Amico, almost had an interception there in great field position, but it did fall incomplete.
What we're seeing right now might not be quite illustrative of the entire game.
Fair enough.
I think it all looked like this, perhaps.
That is true. That is true. They do have their starters in there still, most of Liberty's anyway, from what I can see. But I would imagine, too, that Coach Larry Luth, with a playoff game assured and most likely a home game coming up, he might want to rest some of these guys toward the end of the second half here.
Yeah, absolutely. The couple of things you want to get out of tonight's game: win the county championship and stay healthy for the playoffs. Stay
healthy. Absolutely, Bob. And we're going to head back to – oh, and there is an interception for Century. So before we head back to Winters Mill, take a look and see who that was. That number 8? Number 8, Carter DeNicola with a nice interception for the Knights.
Knights showing a lot of heart here. Down
Yeah.
35-0. They're not. They haven't quit.
Well, I think we're going to go back after that possession change. We're going to go back to the Winners Mill and see what's going on there between the Owls and the Falcons. With Liberty up 35-0 over Century and South Carroll taking a 30-0 lead over Francis Scott Key. Maybe we'll stay here with Century and see Century's offense for a minute. Of course, the clock is running because of the 35-point difference. If Century were to score, then the running clock would be ended. And it looks like most of the starters are still in. I can see some numbers. Let's head back over to Winners Mill High School, where the Falcons and Owls are battling it out here. This might be the start of the second quarter, and a pass over the middle is caught from Kyle Reese Walker. Not over the middle, or I should say down the near sideline. Number 11, Jackson Zaransky's got it into Falcons territory. It looks like it's inside the 30-yard line.
Zaransky has really played well the last few weeks. Nobody knew as much about him as they did about Mason Fisher when the season began, but he has really made a lot of big catches for the Owls.
Clutch catches, too. You're right. Third down conversions, touchdowns. He's giving them that third receiver for sure. And here comes number 28. I think that's Mikey Simon with a run. So,
a little hurry up, a little tempo to the Owls offense.
Yeah, and they tried that in the first. They tried that on that first possession too, but just kind of were so pinned in their own end zone there wasn't much room to make any moves. But now here they are inside the 25-yard line. Looks like they called a timeout on that one. Should be 3-0 Winners Mill in that game. We are going to head into the South Carroll FSK game. See how the Cavaliers got their next batch of points here, I believe. And that looks like it's another toss to A.J. Rodriguez, and looks like another touchdown for the Cavaliers. And they will be headed toward a running clock situation here. That little flag there at the end, but that looks like a touchdown should probably stand for South Carroll. About a 15, 16-yard touchdown for A.J. Rodriguez.
South Carroll has been absolutely dominant the past 2 weeks after that tough one-point loss to Liberty a couple weeks ago, and they look every bit like the team that went all the way to the Naval Academy last year, don't they, Pat?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you think that was the motivation for them, Bob, when they lost that heartbreaker to Liberty? It's obviously evident right now.
Absolutely. There's 2 ways you can come back from that, right?
Yeah. With a vengeance is what South Carroll's done the last couple weeks. And so they're going to be up 36-0. The running clock doesn't take effect until the second half. So a 36-0 South Carroll advantage will keep the clock normal here in the rest of the second quarter. But both of those games, the Liberty Century and the South Carroll FSK games, in running clock situations. Okay, we got a Westminster Winners Mill update as they look like they're inside the 10-yard line here. Oh, no, forgive me. Winners Mill has the ball. Keeping their own end here, and a running play was stopped by the Owls and looked like a flag came in late. So again, I don't think there was any points scored by the Owls, given the fact that Winners Mill has the ball inside the 10. It was either a punt or a turnover, but either way, Winners Mill has possession.
I believe Winners Mill picked one off there, Pat.
Okay, an interception for the Falcons. So, man, you couldn't draw. You talked about an A game, Bob. I mean, it's almost an A+ game so far for Winners Mill in this one.
No, this game could not have started any better for Winners Mill. It's exactly what they wanted to do, and already Westminster's got to be questioning themselves just a little bit. Yeah,
and we've talked to Coach Bassler through the season, and he's asked himself and asked his guys, what's our identity? And I think once in a while they look like the team that could go all the way. Again, like you said, it could make a run to a state championship game. Other times they look a little bit confused with themselves, just like you mentioned, penalties and not really putting it together on offense and things like that. But Winners Mill is going to play hard. They played South Carroll hard a few weeks ago. They've got 3 wins this season, 2 in the county. So
it's very possible that when they are at their best, Westminster is the best of those 3 teams. But are they at their best as often as Liberty is, as often as South Carolina is? That's the question.
No, you're
they
right.
haven't been able to keep it at that level all through the year.
And you and I were talking about Liberty this week and earlier today even, and just looking at their games. They're 5-3, and I think 3 losses by, less than 10 points for sure.
6 points.
Yeah, something like that. 2 of them by 1 point, so, or at least 1 by 1 point. So, 2 with the Owls in the game against Westminster too. So, as is the case with Larry Luth, he's got them prepared, he's got them ready to go. They haven't been able to quite get those 1-point wins like they last season too. Just a lot of their wins were 1-score games, but it looks like Westminster now will be getting the ball with great position as the Falcons are forced to punt in their own end zone. That's Camden Cook doing the punting as well. It takes a Falcons roll.
Coach Mike Coons would not be happy that they let that ball hit the ground.
You're right. One of our Game of the Week analysts, Mike Coons, from a few weeks ago, he's a special teams guy. He likes those special teams kids to find a hat and make a tackle, but also to cover the ball up. And Westminster did not do that. But still going to be decent field position for the Owls.
Still, though, a good job by Cook kicking out of his own end zone, right? We saw earlier today where Francis Kaki was trying to do the same thing, and they had a punt blocked for a safety.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. That's right, earlier in the game. So, it looks like maybe they're going to re-kick this. Looks like maybe there was a penalty.
We're going to back them up even further.
Yeah, which they can't go back too much farther, but yeah, I see the flag on the field. So either a hold or must have been a hold. You see number 44 for the Falcons. Will Litz, looks like it was a clip, a legal block in the back or something like that. Yeah, we can go over to the Liberty Century game and maybe see what the Lions and Knights are doing halfway through the third quarter. Looked like Century's offense was on a 3rd and long, and maybe we can see how that play developed at Century High School in Eldersburg. Perhaps after this punt. Sure, we're going after this punt. And here's Camden Cook again out of his end zone, and who knows, maybe they'll catch this one. Nope, they'll let it bounce. Nope, they're going to field it right around the 45-yard line. So the penalty worked out for Westminster. They got about 15, 20 yards better field position, and they'll start inside Winters Mill territory when the offense gets back on the field. So here's Liberty Century, and we wanted to show you a defensive play here from Liberty, and a big tackle in the backfield by the Lions. Number 53, that's Nick Fortner on Liberty's defense, one of their top defenders. And a little bit of a botched snap from Century, but Nick Fortner from Liberty was right there to cover up the quarterback. And if that was 4th down, must have been a 4th down play because they're changing out. Oh, no, this is 4th down. Sorry, they're going to be punting here. So, again, clock moving there, 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. Liberty up by 5 touchdowns.
Of course, Liberty's known for their offense, but their defense not too shabby either.
Correct. They took a couple punches from South Carroll in that game a few weeks ago and then responded big time and shut them out for almost the entire second half. And here's Sam Evans trying to field this punt and break off a long return. He's got some blocks, and he's down near the 30-yard line when a flag comes flying in. So that might come back a little bit from there, but pretty good return from Lions number 8, Sam Evans, one of their all standout players as a receiver and defender and kick returner.
He's one of the most fun players in the county to watch.
He is. We saw him against Mason Fisher last week, a real treat. See this hold here. Oh, no, it was like a block in the back from Liberty. So they're going to have the ball there. Again, the clock still runs because of the 35-point deficit. And some goings on in Westminster, not too far from us, where Westminster and Winters Mill are playing in that key to the city game. Let's take a look here and see. Westminster has the ball after a Winters Mill punt. And a dump pass to Mikey Simons. Oh, makes a man miss. Still on his feet down near the 20-yard line. Nice little screen and run there from Mikey Simons. Down to the 21-yard line. So Westminster now threatening to maybe put some points on the board for the first time today.
Their second drive, of course, the first one ended with an interception, but this time they find themselves down 3 points. They really need to, oh my.
Ball loose. Although Clayton Dorsey, number 9, avoided most of the disaster there by covering up, but that the ball's on the ground like that. And again, there you go, Bob. Westminster sort of self-inflicted wounds a lot of times is what it kills the Owls' drives, and that one could be detrimental.
That's what we talked about before the game, Pat. That's exactly what happened to me against South Carroll. The turnovers, the inopportune times to put the ball on the ground, to commit a penalty. Same thing a little bit in a lesser degree.
I was going to say, Liberty,
absolutely.
right?
So,
right, just a little bit more,
absolutely.
but right.
So they've got to avoid these mistakes.
Yeah. Still their ball, second down though. They're pushed down behind the chains as Kyrese Walker looks to throw, and he completes a pass down to about the 15-yard line to number 10, his favorite, Mason Fisher, our most recent anyway, CMSportsNet Athlete of the Week. And Mason was a huge reason why Westminster came up with that victory last week. Bob, we watched him return that second half kickoff for a touchdown. We watched him catch the game-winning score late in the fourth quarter. and made some plays on defense. I'm just really, again, you mentioned Sam Edmonds, and he's great. Mason's right there with him too, 1 and 1A in terms of those kind of guys in the county.
Where does A.J. Rodriguez rank?
1A plus, it's hard to say. Kyrie's going to keep it himself. Kyrie's Walker down near the goal line, and now it's going to be about a first and goal situation for Westminster. You couldn't go wrong with those 3 guys. If the 3 guys are going to win the county championship, and those are the 3 guys you're talking about leading their teams, that's looked like Westminster wanted to hurry up, and Winters Mill may have had to call a timeout, trying to make a substitution change.
Speaking of fun to watch, Kyrie's Walker not too shabby himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a nice run. He kind of a little reminder of what he did to end the game against Liberty last week.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's take you back to Century. Liberty and Century still going on with under 2 minutes to go in the 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, and I believe that was an interception from Century's number 4, Blake Kessler. Comes up a little bit slow, but I think he was able to pick off a play there. That's what it looked like anyway. I know it says 3rd and 13, but I felt like that was Liberty on 3rd and 13. They haven't changed. Yeah, there it is, 1st and 10 now for Century. So, again, like we mentioned, the Knights trying not to quit here. I know they want to get some points on the board and just keep this game as close as they possibly can. I know let's not fool anybody. This game's over, but in terms of the score, but I mean the game itself isn't over, and these Knights are at home and they want to try to do what they can to get a little bit of something against their rivals. Yeah. So that's going to be where Century starts that drive. Let's try to go back to Westminster High School, where the Owls were getting close to the goal line and trying to put their points on the board, and I believe take the lead in that game against Winters Mill. Getting that hurry up. There's Kyrie. They're at about the 2-yard line. There's a handoff. Trying to push Mikey Simons, I believe, into the end zone. Did they do it? They did. So there you go. The first touchdown of the game was a running touchdown from the Owls.
That was on 2nd and goal. Again, Winters Mill did not make it easy on them, but Westminster was able to get it in, it looks like.
They did, and that's going to make it 6-3, I believe, with a pending PAT from usually the kicker for them is number 14, Owen Harris, who had the game-winning PAT last week in overtime.
Nickname is Turbo.
Ah, didn't know that. Fun fact for the night. So Turbo Harris will try to give the Owls a 7-3 lead, and I believe he did with that extra point. It's good. And so it's 7-3 Westminster in the second quarter. So 7-3 Westminster, 35-0 Liberty over Century, and South Carroll with a 36-0 lead over Francis Scott Key.
So like you said, it's good to see Century still trying to play tough. So they're playing for pride. Francis got key. They've got to summon it up and play for some pride too. But yeah, at this point, Winters Mill is playing for a little more than pride.
Absolutely. Trying to get that upset, trying to get that key to the city. I'm not sure if the key actually works for anything in the city, but it looks nice anyway on their wall. But yeah, you see 6:49 to go in the second quarter. 7-3. Westminster has the lead here in the second quarter of this key to the city game, and they're going to kick off to Winters Mill, and the Falcons will try to put together something on offense here.
Of course, Westminster would like to pin them deep, and the Falcons would like to get a good return and have good field position.
Let's see how this goes. Oh, that a little bit of a trick play. It was a little trick play, and it's going to work out for Winters Mill. Number 24, Luke Snyder. They tried to little razzle-dazzle in the backfield of the kickoff, and I think Westminster might have fell for it, but either way, the Falcons have it inside the 35-yard line, and that's how you answer.
Really nice return. Well set up. Nice job there by the Falcons.
Right down the sideline, too, using his own sideline as help, much like Mason Fisher did last week for Westminster on that kickoff. This was a kickoff after the Westminster's touchdown, and it's the Falcons now that have the ball on offense, 1st and 10, inside the 35-yard line. Handoff went to Baez there, and the Owls defense stood him up. Andrew Schneider, number 7, the county's leader in tackles. I saw his number there, Bob. He's got over 75 tackles this season, and really strong in that linebacking core. And there's a lot of good guys in there for Westminster.
No, absolutely. He's had a really, really nice year, and Westminster only gives up about 13 points a game. So.
Yep. So second down now. Looks like it was no gain on that play from that run. So 2nd and 10. And clock moving, got to be under 6 minutes or so now in the second quarter. A little pitch fake and a throw completed to Baez from Caleb Crouch. Mason Fisher making that tackle right around the 28-yard line. So they got some positive yards there on that play. And they do have a good kicker. So you get inside the 25, 20-yard line, Coach Matt Miller knows he has Camden Cook he can go to with a pretty strong leg.
That's exactly right. You don't want to get in the habit of trading field goals for touchdowns, but you'll take what you can get.
Yeah, not in this game for sure. You want to try to match Westminster's offense, score for score. We're going to try to get back to the Liberty game with that third quarter winding down. And the Lions, I believe, on defense, the Century Knights face a 3rd and 7. See what happens here. The quarterback throws it out to the flat, and is that picked off? This official said hit the ground, but it looked like it might have been an interception. Number 17 for Liberty sure wanted it. Brendan Erdley, but it looks like they're going to call that incomplete pass. Very close to being an interception for the Lions. It would have given that offense a short field as the third quarter comes to an end. And Liberty, again, still has that 35-0 lead. So the clock will continue to run in the fourth quarter unless there's an injury or a timeout from a coach. Unless Century scores, of course, then the clock would stop. But it'll be 4th and 7 when they get back on the field, and it looks like the Knights will punt to Liberty. We go back to Winters Mill as they're Falcons and Owls, with the Falcons inside the 20-yard line. Those are run by Luke Snyder, and it looks like, Bob, the Falcons are doing a pretty good job on their ground game so far.
They are. They're getting positive yardage. That's the main thing. They're getting positive yardage. They're probably not quite as big. They're not as deep as Westminster, and probably, based on the records, I guess, not quite as talented. But right now they're holding their own. They're doing everything they needed to do tonight.
Yep, absolutely. And Caleb Crouch, the quarterback, number 8, he's a junior. He was a starter last year as a sophomore, so he's got that experience, and he's still got a year to go, so that's got to make Matt Miller pretty pleased. But so does this, as the ball is inside the 15-yard line. And the Falcons trying to answer Westminster's touchdown with one of their own. Another running play to Luke Snyder. So Luke Snyder may have taken over most of the carries here on offense for the Falcons.
Gain of 2. We'll call it 3rd and 5. Met by a parliament of Owls at the line.
So they're down at the 10. I think they can get a first down without getting a touchdown. Winters Mill, that is. As the play is getting called in from the sideline. Caleb Crouch, the quarterback. Winters Mill coming off a loss to Man Valley last week. While Westminster, we mentioned, it was our CMSportsNet game of the week with a 28-27 thrilling win over Liberty. One of the better games you'll see in a while. But anyway, here is looked like they're trying to do a little wildcat or a direct snap. That was number 10, Jesse Tobias. The flag's on the field, though.
Looks like a flag on the play, folks.
Let's see what they call here against Winters Mill and Westminster, one or the other. Falcons might be going backwards, so we'll see. While they sort that out, let's go back to FSK, where South Carroll looking to extend their lead. They were up 36-0, and Carter Mazalewski and leading the offense here from right about midfield. Little run play option, and there is a receiver wide open down the sideline. Might have been Drake Hebron for South Carroll, but it went for about a 48-yard touchdown. And if that's the case, South Carroll's going to take a 44-0 lead as we're still in the second quarter in Uniontown, and that's going to be another running clock situation, Bob, in that second half. So Liberty and South Carroll laying it on Century and FSK, respectively.
Yeah, you didn't want to see these games get out of hand. Obviously, it's the final home game for FSK seniors. Same deal down in Century, but South Carroll had a lot to play for tonight, and they've come out and done everything they were supposed to.
Let's head back to Winters Mill after coming off that timeout. Again, Westminster and Winters Mill playing in the Key to the City game. 12 wins in a row in this series for the Owls. Might have been a sideline warning call on Winters Mill, or a sideline penalty. They moved it back to the 15, so it was a 5-yard penalty, I assume, against Winters Mill. Mason Fisher, we mentioned him on offense. 35 catches this year for 594 yards, 594 yards, that's most of the county, and 9 receiving touchdowns. But he's on defense right now in Winters Mill, trying to put some more points on the board. Crouch looking to throw it.
Oh, my, right through his hands.
He had Jesse Tobias and around the 2-yard line. He had somebody else in the end zone, a bit of a crossing pass there, but the ball did fall incomplete, so it looks like that was 3rd down. And yeah, I think I see Camden Cook out there, number 4, so.
Winters Mill doesn't throw it as much as the rest of the teams in the county do.
That's
but,
true.
Caleb
That's true.
Crouch is a pretty accurate quarterback. Really accurate, actually. His stats are good in that regard. And that really could have been a touchdown pass there. It would have been a great catch, but it was catchable.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's, 60-some% completion percentage, if I'm not mistaken, right around there. Anyway, this will be a 31-yard field goal for Camden Cook, and if it's good, it'll be a 7-6 ball game. Oh, he missed that one. Looks like he made it push it to the right.
Plenty of distance, but.
Oh, yeah, the distance is no problem, but yeah, it didn't go through. So
Well, that's a shame for the Falcons. They had that great kick return, and it looked like they were going to score at least a field goal, if not a touchdown, and that momentum goes back in Westminster's favor now.
it does, and you mentioned it earlier too, Bob. I mean, you got to play that A+ game, and that's not necessarily a mistake you can fault anybody for. I mean, obviously, high school kids kicking field goals is always a roll of the dice, but you want to get points. We're down in that red zone, and Winters Mill comes up empty on it, so it's a tough one.
The cheerleading squad with their senior night.
So because of high school, once the ball past line of scrimmage in a field goal attempt and doesn't go through, it's a touchback. So the Owls get the ball at the 20-yard line to start it on offense. And there's a pass out, almost a slant route, trying to get it to number 13, Tristan Shampoo. That was incomplete.
Incomplete.
Maybe Shampoo's hands were dirty, Bob.
Okay, let's get back to the action.
You don't want any shampoo puns as we go along here? Oh, man, I was trying. It's still early in the night. We got a long way to go here. Although, I will say the Liberty Century game's almost over. There's only 3 minutes to go in that one. That pass is complete from Kyrese Walker to number 13, Shampoo, and now, of course, he comes up a little limp. He's hustling off the field, though, to try to get another receiver out there. Looks like Aiden Midkiff comes on for the Owls on offense as a receiver.
Again, Westminster does have a lot of depth at these
Yeah.
wide receiver position.
Yep.
Not that he won't be missed, but they'll
Right.
have somebody else in there for him.
Right. Even some of their backs can do some wide receiver duty, and that was
What a nice play.
dangerous throw there. Are they going to call it an incomplete pass? What are they going to call this? There goes a flag. I think that's intentional grounding on Kyrese Walker.
Good job putting pressure on him by the Falcons.
Yeah, the Falcons flushed him on defense. Let's see what they call here. Intentional grounding. So a loss of down. Should be 4th down. So again, Winters Mill's defense coming up big and keeping this game close.
So we'll back the ball up, and it's a loss of down on the play. 4th and a lot.
4th and a lot, says John Lowe from Winters Mill. Looks like they'll punt from in there, and the punter will be in the end zone for Westminster.
Back to punt for the Owls.
Cooper Whitcomb, a sophomore, did the punting last week. I believe that's him, number 88. And this could be a chance for Winters Mill again. They've had chances, Bob, here in this first half to really take the lead and also pad the lead, but right now they're down by 4 points. But that missed field goal didn't really go very far in terms of momentum for Westminster.
No, it really didn't, and the Falcons did exactly what they wanted to do.
So 44-0 South Carroll over FSK, 35-0 Liberty over Century. I know the Liberty game is in its final 2 minutes or so. I think the South Carroll Key game hasn't reached halftime yet, but once it does, if the score stays the same, that second half will be quicker than normal. And here's Westminster's punt out of its own end zone. Oh, pretty good punt by Whitcomb. And if they tried the same thing again, they did. And this time, Owls covered up a little bit better, but that one again was almost a fake handoff there. Number 10, Jesse Tobias.
Special teams playing a big role in this game.
That was 18, Aaron Jones. And I think I heard a minute left.
Nice creativity on special teams so far for the Falcons.
Keeping the Owls guessing. That's something Chris Basler's going to likely talk to his guys about at halftime. Just got to shore things up, or else this game's going to come down to the wire. And they've come down to the wire for Westminster a couple times this season for sure. All right, what do they have here? A personal foul?
Flag on the play. The call on the Falcons during the run back.
Oh, I see. That was a call on the Falcons.
The line of scrimmage to the Falcons' own 48-yard line.
So they're going to back them up, and that nice return.
Falcon faithful didn't necessarily agree with that call.
You hear some boos, huh?
There were a few boos in the audience.
Check that, make that the 32-yard line.
Hey, it's Halloween weekend. You're going to hear a lot of boos. No. Was that better than the shampoo joke?
So back to the action again.
Oh, back to the action. Okay, sorry. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Winters Mill has it at the 32-yard line, 1st and 10. And I think actually the Winter Liberty Century game will be a final. I think the clock operator, scoreboard operator just didn't have the third quarter changed over. It looks like they're shaking hands.
Down by Jameson O'Connell of the.
Yeah, it looks like it might be it between Liberty and Century. Looks like the handshake line is out. So that's going to be a final score. Liberty has done what it needed to do by getting a 35-0 victory over Century. Liberty goes to 6-3 and 5-1 in the county, and now they just wait and see the other two games. Century finishes the season, regular season anyway, 1-8, 1-5 in county play, and that's 6 in a row now for the Lions in their series, and they will keep that Freedom Bell once again. Again, that's a bell, a big bell, and what kind of looks like the Liberty Bell of Philadelphia from the Revolutionary War times, and it's a bell. It's painted half blue for Liberty and half green for Century, and they sort of play for it every year, and the winner gets to hold on to it for a full year. But anyway, the Lions have had it in their possession for the half the last decade, and they're going to keep it again. So
that was a really nice job tonight by the Lions. They had to come back from a tough loss last week. They lost by a point in overtime.
That's correct.
They had the county championship won if they could have held on after taking a 6-point lead in overtime.
Had it won outright.
Exactly,
yeah.
couldn't do that. But now they came in, they did what they wanted to do. They won this game pretty handily, and now they'll head into the playoffs as probably a number 2 seed in their region.
Yeah, I think so. And that will guarantee them at least 2 home games then for the first couple rounds of the playoffs. And Liberty maybe going to get the bell. I'm not sure, but they're going to celebrate there in Eldersburg, not too far down the road from their school.
Yeah, 6-3 is a really good season for them, but just think about what could have been. Like you said, a 1-point loss, a 1-point loss, and a 4-point loss.
Yep. They really could be 9-0 right now, but instead they'll take 6-3 and they'll take a couple home games in the playoffs. And let's go to the South Carroll FSK game. I believe that one's getting close to halftime. Let's see what happens. Some of the action that happened momentarily as Liberty celebrates its victory over Century. Again, South Carroll was winning this game 36-0 in the second quarter. Looks like the Cavs on offense again here. Oh, what was that, a fake punt maybe? I couldn't even tell what it is, but I know what it is, a long play for South Carroll and a first down. I couldn't see the yard marker to see what happened. Whatever it was kind of a funky formation the Cavs were in. It almost looked like it was going to be a pooch punt or something, but Cavs look like they are up 44-0 in the second quarter. And they still have the ball on offense, so maybe they're just trying to get to the end of the half. I'm not sure. So it looks like still 44-0 there, South Carroll. If we can swing back to the Westminster Winters Mill game and see what's going on here in the Owls-Falcons game. Actually, it looks like that game went to the half. So yeah, let's check out the Owls and the Falcons. And there's a run. Look, the ball came out. They going to call that a fumble? They are. Nico Baez carried it for the Falcons, and Westminster comes up with a fumble recovery, and that was number 9, I think, with the ball, Clayton Dorsey. So a turnover, costly here, could be costly anyway for Winters Mill's offense, or the Winters Mill themselves, as Westminster will start it at the 30-yard line.
Well, think of how things turned around just in the last few minutes for the Falcons. They had that great punt return, had seemingly great field position, but they went backwards by 30 or 40 yards because of the penalty. And
penalty, yeah. Yep. And the FSK South Carroll game is at the half, so South Carroll 44, key nothing at halftime. Kyrese Walker looking to throw, and he's intercepted. Over the middle, Winters Mill interception. Nico Baez giveth and taketh away. I think he had the fumble, and then he gets a nice interception over the middle. I'm not sure what Kyrese Walker was looking for, but there was not an Owls receiver there. And that turnover to turnover, and the Falcons are living on the edge here.
That is certainly not what Coach Bassler was looking for in that situation.
And that might have been the last play of the half, actually. So maybe that made a little more sense because maybe Kyrese was just trying to make something happen, and doesn't wind up hurting them too much. But Westminster leads 7-3 at halftime at Winters Mill. And wow, kind of a crazy first half. Crazy first half in that Westminster Winters Mill game. The other two games, not so crazy.
That was a crazy first half. I mean, a really good first half, actually.
Yeah.
Definitely some mistakes, a couple turnovers, that sort of thing. Like you said, Kyrese had to take a chance there. But, wow, Winters Mill has really given them everything they wanted. Maybe surprising to some, not necessarily to us, huh?
I was just going to say, we certainly think Westminster is the favored team, but we did say if there's any of these we're going to be an upset, it could possibly be Winters Mill. I know just because of the way Matt Miller's team has played this year. Let's take a look at some of the first half highlights with Westminster Winters Mill. And this was just that last play. You'll see Nico Baez making a nice interception over the middle. Again, I didn't realize how much time was left just because we don't have a full scoreboard to look at right now. But, I can understand Kyrese just trying to make a throw with only a couple seconds left. But the interception is the interception, right? And that's momentum potentially for Westminster as Nico Baez probably makes himself feel a little better. He had that fumble in the play before that as the half was winding down. But anyway. Always nice to
get a little redemption that way, huh?
That's right. 7-3 ball game. I mean, that's as close as we have right now in the Carroll County games. We have the South Carroll game being 44-0 at the half, and Liberty's already wrapped their game up 35-0. They win over Century. That game kicked off at 6. The South Carroll Key game kicked off at 6:30, and then Winters Mill Westminster kicked off around 7.
Well, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, certainly, but Winters Mill is absolutely in this game. If they were to knock off Westminster tonight, I know that Liberty's going to be rooting for them, right?
That's true.
A Westminster loss makes Liberty the outright the county champion.
It would because Liberty and South Carroll would both be 5-1, but Liberty beat South Carroll, as we mentioned, a 1-point game a few weeks ago. So that if there's only two teams that are tied, it would be the head-to-head matchup with the tiebreaker. So Bob's on point, and Liberty's a big fan of Winters Mill right now, and South Carroll doesn't know it yet, but they want Westminster to become victorious. I guess there's no way they can win it outright because Liberty's already won. So
South Carroll doesn't root for Westminster often, but I guess for tonight they will be.
Never when those two teams play. So that's halftime there at South Carroll and Key with the marching band on the field. Again, our footage is courtesy of NFHS Network. I've never been able to say that. That is really hard to say. I'm a bit of a mumbler, and that's hard for me to say. But we're halftime at Winters Mill as well. And the halftime report is brought to you by Genova's To Go. Locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon Eldersburg for you Knights and Lions fans. Genova's Pizza, Pasta, Subs, and more.
We had a couple slices of Genova's pizza earlier tonight, didn't we, Pat?
We sure did. Tasty as always. But anyway, Winters Mill's marching band on the field as the Owls and Falcons take a break for their annual Key to the City game. Looks like a pretty good crowd. I know it's a little bit deceptive there with that very tiny stands over there on the visiting side, but it's packed over there. Westminster fans kind of line the fence and sit in the stands there. A nice night for football, and I'm sure Winters Mill's side is also filled with people. And again, just a good rivalry. You and I are old enough to know when there wasn't a Winters Mill, and the rivalry was, of course, Westminster and South Carroll, and it still is. But it's kind of cool that both teams at Winters Mill kind of took from Westminster in terms of student body, but they become a rival just based on their proximity and their closeness to each other in the city limits.
Exactly right. These kids grow up, obviously, playing sports against each other and their neighbors and that sort of thing, and it's always fun to get together. That's why they play this game at the end of the year.
We've been covering football and soccer all year, and you can obviously look for football and soccer highlights and more local sports at CMSportsNet.com, CarrollMediaCenter.org, and all of our social media platforms. And what we're doing tonight is going to be available on demand, replayed, of course, on channel 1086 HD on Comcast. Just wanted to put that out there, but we'll be doing our best to keep you guys up to date with some playoffs as well. Girls soccer playoffs are going on right now. And, of course, with the soccer playoffs and the football playoffs coming up as well. Should be fun times the next couple of weeks.
Best time of the year.
Hey, absolutely. If you're a fall sports fan, it is the best time of the year. I mentioned earlier that Mason Fisher is our most recent CM SportsNet Athlete of the Week. I caught up with Mason earlier this week, and let's take a look at what he had to say to us, and we gave him the Athlete of the Week award. The CM SportsNet Athlete of the Week is sponsored by Genova's To Go. Locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's, pizza, pasta, subs, and more. CM SportsNet Athlete of the Week this week, Mason Fisher from Westminster's football team. The Owls and Liberty played a great game last week, and the Owls won in overtime. Mason had a kickoff return for a touchdown, a big touchdown in the fourth quarter. Mason, I know I talked to you after the game on Friday, but now you've had a couple days let it sink in. Playing in a game like that with all the stakes that were on the line, you guys win the county title. What was the feeling like to come out with a victory?
All the preparation all week during practice really paid off for us. I mean, that was our main goal. I mean, put 4 really good practices together to beat a really good team, and we accomplished that, and now we are focused on beating Winners Mill and then heading into the playoffs.
The way the offense has sort of grown this year with Kyrie at quarterback. I know you guys worked a long time, even before the season started, to kind of had that connection. Week 8, the regular season, like you just mentioned, playoffs on the horizon here. What has that connection been like for you guys? Your ability to sort of become a really good duo as far as quarterback and receiver.
Yeah, me, Kyrie, Dorsey, all of us, right. We all made that connection during practice, during the off season. All that work paid off. Obviously, it's not just me this year. We have 6 good receivers, and it took a while for us to get going, but it paid off at the end, and we're cruising now. We're doing really good.
I know you want to score every time you touch the ball, whether it's on defense, offense, or special teams. You got a chance there to start the third quarter, and when you saw the ball coming towards you, what's the first thing you're looking for on those kickoffs? And then obviously once you get going, the thought is, hey, I want to try to score it. And I know it takes more than just you, but when you saw the ball coming to you, what was the first thing in your mind?
Yeah, so originally I didn't think the ball was even going to get to me. Exactly. Me and Manley were joking that, it was kind of like a little trick play of ours where it goes right between his legs and I pick it up, but I wasn't expecting that. I saw the opportunity when I saw a hole when I guess they didn't know where the ball was, maybe, I don't know, but I saw a hole, I took it, and I had Q and somebody else in front of me blocking for me, and then I just followed them and went to the end zone.
So. The first course, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of running, but yeah, it worked out. Yeah.
It worked out.
Yep.
All right, Mason, well, congratulations on a good week, and good luck for the rest of the season. Want more local sports coverage? Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
That's picked off by touchdown.
Hi, I'm Mike Preston of the Community Media Center. We're going to give you front row seats of highlights of Carroll County football, and we're going to take you behind the scenes. We're going to give you a front row seat. We're going to take you places that no one else can take you.
But we need your help. We're looking for volunteers to help us cover the game. If you have a passion for the sport and are willing to learn, we want to hear from you.
You can bring high school football to every screen in Carroll County. Some of the best plays in football happen right here, and you can be a part of it.
Contact us today and find out how you can help us capture some of the best plays in the game.
Are you ready to join the team?
Hey there, I'm Pat Stoetzer.
And I'm Michael Duffy, inviting you to join us for The Score and more.
It's our new podcast, and each week we'll talk about high school sports in Carroll County. We'll share information about upcoming games, highlight coaches and athletes, and much more.
We'll even try to have a little fun along the way. Don't miss the Score and More podcast, presented by CMSportsNet.
The Score and More Sports podcast is available online at carrollmediacenter.org and on a variety of podcast channels.
This fall, local athletes take the field, and CMSportsNet will be there to bring all the action to thousands of homes throughout Carroll County. Catch all the action: high school football, high school soccer, and Carroll Link soccer. Each week, local fans in Carroll County turn to CMSportsNet. Live game coverage, game highlights, and exclusive interviews. Plus, a wrap-up show to highlight the top athletes and teams of the season. Tune in for CMSportsNet's award-winning coverage. On air, online, and on demand. CMSportsNet's award-winning coverage. Let the games begin. CMSportsNet, we've got you covered.
Skill, dedication, leadership. Just a few of the things it takes to be named CM Sportsnet's Athlete of the Week. Hi, I'm Pat Stoetzer. Each week, CM Sportsnet recognizes an outstanding player for their contribution to their sport. Meet some of Carroll County student athletes and join us as we celebrate their performance, impact, and outstanding accomplishments. The CM Sportsnet Athlete of the Week is sponsored by Genova's To Go, locations in Westminster, Manchester, Hampstead, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's To Go, pizza, pasta, subs, and more.
What does it take to cover local high school sports? It takes staff and volunteers, equipment, training, and community support from people like you. You can help by making a donation to the Community Media Center today. Your gift is an investment in our community, our schools, and most of all, our student athletes. We want to expand our coverage to include both boys and girls sports, but we can't do it without your help. So please, make your donation today and help us bring high school sports to every screen in Carroll County.
Welcome back, everybody. We are about to begin the second half of play between two games that are still going on here on Week 9 of the Carroll County Athletic League. We have South Carroll at FSK. The Cavaliers up 44-0 at the half. And we have halftime at Westminster Winters Mill where the Owls lead the Falcons, but only 7-3. A little bit of a surprise in that one. And we're going to have some footage of both as we're going to go back and forth as the last two teams trying to earn a piece of this Carroll County Athletic League championship need victories in order to do so. Liberty's already taken care of Century. The Lions won 35-0, and they finished the season at 5-1 in county play. South Carroll can also finish 5-1, and so can Westminster. And then if that's the case, it'll be a three-way tie. It was some of the action in the first half between South Carroll and FSK. You see A.J. Rodriguez score his first touchdown, and the Cavaliers really just put it on the Eagles early. And this was a two-point conversion. They did not go for the extra point, and you see a nice catch here by Nate Bohr, just one hand up in the air extended. That was a really nice play.
That really was. Catch of the night.
Yep. Bob Blueball joining me again. I'm Pat Stoetzer from the Media Center, CM SportsNet. And we are doing our best here. Bob's in the command center, and I'm here in the studio, and we're watching games together here and enjoying ourselves. Oh, there's South Carroll making a nice defensive play in the first half, too. It was just a lot of South Carroll early on, much like Liberty, Bob, in the Century game.
Yeah, absolutely. Not necessarily a surprise, but, a little overwhelming.
Right, and there's a blocked punt for a safety that went out of the back of the end zone. And so that made it 10-0, I believe, South Carroll. And that was still early in the game.
It didn't get any better.
No, it didn't. Not if you're FSK. If you're South Carroll, though, you had a nice day.
Good point.
Carter Mazalewski with a couple of touchdown passes, I believe, in the first half. That one went for about 50 yards, and he has another one coming up here in a minute. Drake Heber made a nice catch down the sideline. Some of the Liberty Century highlights here, too, in the first half. A nice interception there by Century, but in this game, unfortunately, all the scoring came early on, and we were having some slight difficulties getting the signal. But trust me when I tell you that Liberty scored early and often in that game and put up a 5-touchdown lead and could cruise from there.
Right.
So,
again, our highlights from this game may not be representative of how the first half went.
That is correct. But here we do have some highlights here from the Westminster Winters Mill game. I think this is the first field goal. The first points of the game came off the foot of Camden Cook. 34-yard field goal that was way long in terms of distance, and he got it to go through the uprights.
Both of these teams have nice field goal kickers. That's a good weapon to have.
Absolutely, yeah. So that was a little bit of the highlights from around the three, Carroll County matchups. And Bob, we mentioned how Liberty handled its business and South Carroll is handling its business. Westminster's leading the game, but things got to feel a little tight if you're Westminster and Winters Mill. Not Winters Mill so much, but definitely on the Westminster sideline.
Well, absolutely. They're feeling a little bit differently at halftime than South Carroll or Liberty, where South Carroll and Liberty had 35 and 44-point leads. So going in with only a 4-point lead, it's a little more nerve-wracking.
Absolutely. It looks like they've kicked off at Winters Mill to the start of the second half. Same goes for South Carroll FSK, but let's take you to the Winters Mill game where that's a little closer contest. We'll keep an eye on South Carroll and Key, of course, too, but that one, obviously with 44-0 being the score, South Carroll's going to go ahead and win that ball game. This one, definitely up for grabs. Westminster on offense here. Yeah, nice run to start the third quarter for Westminster. That looks like it was Mikey Simons, number 28. Haven't seen Keandre Grooms, Bob. I know number 4 for Westminster, one of their key contributors. He's dealt with some injuries. He played last week and had some success. Now, I'm not saying he hasn't played tonight, but I just haven't seen him on offense. And we have a player down for Winters Mill, looks like.
No, you're exactly right. The second and third weeks of the season, Keandre had a lot of success for the Owls. He had a good game against South Carroll when they played, but that injury did set him back, and he missed a couple games, and he hasn't gotten nearly as much playing time since.
Yeah, I still think if you look, Bob, he's in the county leaders in rushing. Now, I know he's not near the top, but he's certainly, when he's been out there, he's been able to shoulder some of that offense for the Owls. But right now, it looks like Mikey Simons is handling most of the running, and of course, Kyrese Walker will do the same from the quarterback position when Westminster's on offense.
Absolutely. Westminster has 4 or 5 running backs that they use, and again, an embarrassment of riches, really. They've got plenty of people to run in and out.
Raycon Warfield, another solid sophomore, another running back that you might see tonight. But another handoff to Simons, and that is a big run on second down for first down and more inside Winters Mill territory, all the way inside the 40-yard line. So if that gets going for Westminster, that might be tough to stop if you're Winters Mill's defense.
Absolutely. The Falcons did such a good job on it in the first half, but how long can they continue?
And then it looks again like Westminster wants to go hurry up. So, well, that time Winters Mill's defense up for the challenge.
Did a nice job stopping them that time.
54. That's Candy, the Candy Man, Candy Impasi for Winters Mill, making a nice tackle. It might have been a no gain, or if any gain, just went out. They had no gain. So, second down now for Westminster. Of course, the clock is your friend too if you're the Owls, but we got a lot of half to go here. And but I will say this: possessions, I think anyway, possessions are going to be key. Winters Mill's got to score some points on these possessions here to start the third quarter.
This game's been played evenly so far. Winters Mill's been every bit the team that Westminster has been thus far tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. Bunch receivers here close to the line of scrimmage. And Kyrese Walker going to go upstairs. And that is a catch, and I think that's a touchdown. Oh, I'm sorry, out of bounds. Inside that, I missed the goal. I was inside the 10. I thought that was the goal line. It's hard to see when we're zooming in, but that's a
really nice catch, though. That was Zaransky again, I do believe.
It was. I'm just going to say that.
We talked about him earlier. He's been making some big catches for them lately, and here we go again.
Boy, and the Owls do want to hurry up on offense. It's a different style we've seen from them, and that's inside the 5-yard line. Yeah, I was off. My apologies. I saw the pylon and thought it was the goal line. It was the 10-yard line, but still, it's a first and goal situation, and now a second and goal, I believe, for Westminster. Looks like we'll see what the Owls want to do here. I am a little surprised that they're not surprised. I just say it's gotten me a little bit off kilter with their hurry up. And here's Kyrese Walker with the ball himself, and I think he's in for a touchdown this time. Kyrese Walker going to take it himself on the ground. And that's a touchdown for Westminster. So just what the Owls wanted to start the third quarter, and not what you wanted for Winters Mill, was to see the Owls run right down the field and come up with 6 points.
Well, of course, Kyrese Walker is the Owls' leading rusher this year. He's done a great job. He's got double-digit touchdowns now.
Yep, on the ground, Kyrese is a threat. And here's Owen Harris for the extra point to make it a 14-3 game if it goes through. And it's good.
Well, that was a statement the Owls made to start the second half.
Absolutely. You know Chris Bowser talked to him at halftime. Let's go take a look at the South Carroll FSK game. I think there's a score update here with the Cavs leading 44-0 and with the ball near midfield again. And it's a handoff and breaking some tackles and getting out to the outside and
nice
cutting it back in. I think that looks like A.J. Rodriguez again. If he's still in the game, that's a third touchdown, maybe a fourth. And if that's the case, it's 52-0 South Carroll in the third quarter.
What did South Carroll win by last week?
55. So you're talking about 100 points in the last 2 weeks for South Carroll. You think they're upset about that Liberty loss?
They haven't quite gotten over that one.
They're over it if they've put up 100 points in the last 2 weeks, that's for sure.
Well, you know what? They could get another chance. South Carroll could play Liberty again in the playoffs.
And both coaches have already talked about that they could play in the state round if both teams were to win a couple of playoff games. How fun would that be to see a South Carroll Liberty state quarterfinal or a semifinal matchup? That would be one for the record books for sure.
Shut down the southern part of Carroll County that night.
That's the old rivalry, the backyard brawl, as we used to know growing up. And, of course, they don't call it that anymore, but we're back to Westminster Winters Mill. So that's 52-0 now, South Carroll over Key as the clock will run. And in this one, 14-3, I believe, Westminster over Winters Mill. Westminster on defense now, and Winters Mill will start at its own 18.
So it's a critical juncture now for Winters
Yes.
Mill, right? They've played really well. They led for a lot of the game. They could have even been leading at halftime, but now they find themselves down 14-3, and they've got to find a way to get back in this thing, get another score.
They've got to score on this drive, I would think, if they want a chance to.
Like we said earlier, they don't throw the ball as much as some of the other teams, so they're not necessarily built to be a comeback type team. They probably do a little bit better when they play with the lead, but that's not the situation they find themselves in right now, so we'll just have to see.
That was a nice run though on first down to get out from inside the 20. So
right, they don't have to do anything different right now. It's still early.
No,
It's still early in the
yeah.
third quarter, but
Yeah,
just saying, 11 points down. You don't want to let Westminster get the ball back and start to pull away.
Another touchdown would be critical to their chances for winning. So or coming back, I should say anyway. But looks like a second down now for the Falcons with Caleb Crouch at quarterback, number 8. And they're, like you said, Bob, they're not going to stray from their game plan. They're going to continue to run the ball and try to get it to the outside, make Westminster's defense move, and throw a few passes here and there when they need to. But
well, the game plan worked. They faltered a little bit in the red zone one time. They did have a turnover, but they moved the ball against Westminster in the first half. We'll see if Westminster made some adjustments at halftime.
I see the chains moving, so that's a first down then for the Falcons, and that's what you want if you're Matt Miller's team, up to the 29-yard line. Again, like you said, not a tremendous sense of urgency, but you don't want to wait too long because, again, you got to score twice here, which means you got to get it back at least a third time to try to put a dent in this deficit. 14-3, not over by any stretch, but Caleb Crouch going to keep it. Nice run.
Deception, nice run, but did he lose the ball at the end?
Oh, let's see. What are they going to call here? They're stopping the clock. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You're right. I looked like for a second the Westminster guys wanted Westminster players wanted a fumble, but he's up to the 42-yard line, so a pickup of about 15 yards. And 2 plays, and you're almost near midfield, so that's just what you want when you're Winters Mill.
Absolutely. Right you are, Peyton.
The Peyton and Eli. It's the CMSportsNet version of the Manning cast. Am I Peyton or am I Eli? Whose forehead is bigger? It may be a tie. 1st and 10 at the 26. We don't have any hair, everybody. That's what we're talking about. And still running the ball, like you said, just trying to ground out Westminster's defense a little bit. But it's working. I mean, it's working if you're Winters Mill. You can't be too upset at the way the offense is moving the ball.
Absolutely. They got plenty of time to make a nice long drive. No problem.
Yeah, and they've had their chance. So while the Falcons and Owls are near midfield, I think we're going to try to go back to Uniontown, where FSK and South Carroll are still squaring off. Let's see what happened here. Got some highlights here from just a minute ago. South Carroll and FSK. South Carroll up huge right now, 52-0. FSK. Did they avoid the shutout here? Let's see. I think they did. In style, FSK. Oh, maybe he didn't score, but he got right down near the goal line. Oh, he's down to the 1-yard line.
Really nice job there.
That was a great job. Again, just like we saw in the Century game, the Eagles aren't quitting. They're down near the 1. Maybe they may have scored after that. Scoreboard tells me 52-6. Let's just see the play and see what happened, how they got to the 6 points. Looked like a quarterback keeper, Ben Stevens, if he's a QB, and that is a touchdown. So, hey, no shutout in Uniontown tonight. FSK is on the board. The clock's still going to run, but I know you're looking for small victories, and that's one if you're David Cunningham and the FSK Eagles. I mean, you're getting embarrassed, but you don't want to get too embarrassed, and putting points on the board is one way to do it.
There you go. There's a little bit of a moral victory for Francis Key, just like Century had a moral victory by playing so well in the second half tonight.
Absolutely. Keeping Liberty from scoring in the second half. I believe all the points were scored of that one in the first half. And it looks like Key might go for 2 here, as they should, down 52 points.
Is that what the book says, to go for 2 in this situation?
Yeah. I don't have that book on my desk,
Okay.
but I think it's when you're down 52, you go for 2. And you never stop going for 2. We got a timeout, it looks like, timeout. So numbers are a little harder to see. Trying to see if that was Ben Stevens, the quarterback. He's been the quarterback all year for the Falcons, and the Eagles. And if that were the case, then that was his rushing touchdown. But anyway, It looks like a 4th down play now for Winters Mill, and I wonder if you need to start. Oh, well, never mind. I think there might have been a penalty called to make it a 1st down. The box had a 4th down, and now they're moving the chains to a 1st down. I hear the Falcons fans cheering, so I can't say for sure whether it was a penalty, but whatever the case, it's 1st down for Winters Mill, and they are into, I should say, Westminster territory.
Westminster territory, absolutely.
Points on the board here would be, like we said, critical to Winters Mill's chances of a comeback.
Well, regardless what they do here, they've done exactly what they needed to do to get to this point. They had to get down, to get back to what they were doing well,
right,
and put some 1st downs together.
That's true. Long drive, like you said. No turnovers. They haven't turned it over here. That's Luke Snyder, 24 on the carry. He's been carrying the ball for the Falcons along with Caleb Crouch at quarterback. And down to the 46-yard line of Westminster. So, yeah, again, I mean, you go into the game if you're Winters Mill, you know you're up against it, against a really good team and your rival in Westminster. You're playing loose. You're playing with house money. You're not expected to win. And so the fact that you're in this game right now, you're making Westminster work for you. You're making Westminster press. And this could be a trick play here from Winters Mill.
Nice move there.
You can get around the edge.
Oh, Westminster smelled that one out pretty well.
Yeah, that was a pretty good move, though, by 17,
really
Will Snyder. It didn't go for many yards, but it did make Westminster's defense work. But you're right, Westminster's defense did a good job rallying to the ball there, or else that could have gone for a lot more yards.
Absolutely. Well, they've picked up about 40 yards so far on this drive. I think it's been exclusively on the ground, too.
Yeah, even that last reverse. Again, without seeing the scoreboard, I know that's got to be a little bit midway later in the quarter now because the drive's taking up some time. But again, any points here is going to be huge for Winters Mill.
So it might be 2-down territory already. I know they've got a good punter, but it's important to try to do what you can on this drive. If you can get some yards here, they could go for it on 4th.
That's what I was getting at. Just that I think they're going to have to really kind of push the issue a little bit here. Another handoff, and this time Westminster not much doing. That was number 5, Sean Restivo, when I mentioned him earlier.
Tough call now. You know Matt Miller pretty well. What should he do?
I liked what you said, but it looks like they might be bringing the punt team on.
Try to pin Westminster deep, maybe.
Yeah, pin him deep, pin him out, kick out of bounds, and also you have a chance to, turn the ball over, make a play, have who knows, a pick 6 or something on defense. Your defense has played well so far.
Yeah, the Ravens once had a punter named Cook who threw the ball pretty well in fake punt situations.
Could that be the case here? Don't laugh, it might happen. It will not. A regular old punt. And let's see where this one goes. Oh, he tried to kick it right to the 1. I was wondering if he was just trying to kick angle out of bounds, but instead, there you go. So under 2 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter, and I believe that was a touchback. So Westminster will start at the 20. So there is still a lot of time left.
There's a lot of time left, but I wonder if they're going to come back to regret that one later on. They have a 4th and 4, and maybe if you go for it, then you can, obviously continue the drive. They only end up picking up about, 15, 20 yards on the punt.
Yeah. I mean, the goal was to play field position there, but obviously it didn't quite work out. If Cook's punt doesn't go in the end zone, you're talking about a whole different ordeal. But now it's at the 20, and Westminster takes over 1st and 10 from the 20. I see Kyrie Walker in the backfield. He's going to keep it himself and come this way toward the near sideline and have a lot of room to run.
Wow. Nice burst.
20 couple yard run there by Kyrie Walker.
Really nice burst by Kyrie Walker. And right away, here you are, Westminster almost back to midfield.
Yeah, and it doesn't take long with some of those guys that are playmakers. As good as Winters Mill's playing the game, I don't think I'd be talking out of turn by saying they just don't have the playmakers that Westminster has in terms of the skill position guys. I mean, they've got good players, don't get me wrong. But when you got to go up against a Kyrie, a Mason Fisher, a Zaransky, a Clayton Dorsey, a Simmons, a Warfield, I can keep going.
Absolutely, it was going to be a tall order for them tonight. But they've done a great job staying in the game. I guess that's why I wondered about going for it on 4th down.
Yeah, me too.
They really
and I
had
think
nothing to lose.
Right, and there's Mikey Simons who can get a nice block in front of him, and he's up inside, I should say, the 30. So 2 plays, and they're already inside the 30-yard line and looking to score some more points here. And a touchdown here I won't say it'll be the end of the game, of course, with the 4th quarter to go, but it would really put Westminster to the driver's seat, and we'd be looking at that 3-way tie we've been talking about all night.
And Simons, you mentioned him earlier. He really has been running the ball very well the last month. Wasn't getting the ball at the beginning of the season, but he's really shown his importance in the last few weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if he was coming off of an injury earlier in the season or what, but he definitely has come on more in the last few weeks, and they have needed it. I think this is him again.
Another nice hole.
Yeah. Almost another first down. I think 9 yards there too. So.
Gain of 8 on the play, 2nd and 2.
So inside the 20 now, it looks like, or at least near the 20, excuse me, for Westminster.
Having a lot of success running the ball. No reason to stay away from it.
I was just going to say, why stop now? Yeah, why stop now? Although you never know, a little play action could be a killer.
And that's going to bring them out the end of the third quarter.
All right, it's the end of 3.
The score remains.
Yeah, Simon's only with 130 or 140 yards rushing to the season. So he's come on when they needed him to. And at the end of the third quarter, Westminster's leading this game 14-3 over Winters Mill. And while we have a break in the quarter, let's go back to South Carroll FSK and see the Cavaliers on offense again against the Eagles. Again, the clock has been running in this half. And I believe you're going to see A.J. Rodriguez do a little damage here to FSK's defense. He's just so hard to take down. I mean, I'm a little surprised he's still in the game with the fourth quarter and 52-6, but I guess there's stats to go after and things like that.
Well, he was about 400 yards away, 400 yards ahead of anybody else in terms of the rushing title. He's well over 1,000 yards this year again, and is just one of the most dangerous players in Carroll.
Yeah, no doubt. 1,120 yards, like we mentioned. He's second all time for South Carroll. That was told to me by South Carroll's coaching staff. That's quite a feat. You've got you know as well as I do. They've had a lot of great running backs in South Carroll.
They have had a lot of really good running backs in South Carroll. Every single season, it seems like they've got a 1,000-yard rusher there. So yeah, that's pretty impressive that he's number 2.
Yeah, number 2 all time. And he told me at the beginning of the season, told us during our preview that, he wanted to break his coach's record, and his coach is Chris Gavin, who I believe is their all-time single-season leader. He's not going to quite get there, I don't think, unless they make a tremendous run in the playoffs. But I guess I shouldn't say that. You never know. He's up to 1,200 more now, at least, and they could have many more games to go here in this regional playoffs. And a season is a season, so the playoffs count as well as the regular season, as we're back to Winters Mill and Westminster in their game.
No, you're absolutely right, Pat. I mean, there's many games still to play for South Carroll potentially. They made it all the way to Navy Marine Corps Stadium last year.
They sure did. The 2A 1A final. They were undefeated at that time and then lost to Dunbar. A little bit of a lopsided contest in that one, but it was quite a fun fall. We hadn't seen the county, I should say, hadn't seen a high school team go to a state final since 2005. And 2 teams went that year, South Carroll and Westminster. We were able to watch those games in our other previous job at the newspaper, and of course we were able to do that again last year. Kind of fun to see. I know 6 classifications now in football, a little different story, but still, it was really fun to see South Carroll make that run all the way to the finals.
Of course, no Carroll team's ever won a state championship in football.
Correct. And there's Kyrese Walker, and I believe that's a touchdown by Kyrese Walker.
Yep.
So there you go. So Westminster keeps that drive going as we start the fourth quarter and finish with a touchdown. And still a whole quarter to go, but that might be too much for Winters Mill to overcome. Just the way that Westminster's moving the ball right now. Kyrie's rushing touchdown. What's that? 10 now, Bob?
That's at least 10. I think he may have 11, and that's a tough one. It's one of those situations where I think the Falcon players might wake up tomorrow morning and wonder why they didn't go for it on 4th down when they were only down by 11 points at the 40-yard line.
Yeah. I think I get the idea. They wanted to play the field position game and just you risk the punt going into the end zone, and that's what happened. And that gave them an 80-yard drive, and it didn't take long, right? They did it in about 4 or 5 plays. So
absolutely, never had to throw the ball.
No, they never did. Not that I saw. So yeah, that's impressive. They're impressive when they get it going. They're like you mentioned a few minutes ago. I think they may be the toughest team of the county. Not to say South Carolina Liberty have not been good. They certainly have, but. When they've got things clicking, they are the team that they are one of the teams to beat. And you just see Kyrese Walker use his legs there. I mean, once he gets outside, he's as tough as anybody to stop in the county.
Absolutely right. But that's the thing about all 3 of those teams, Pat. All 3 of these now, I think we can say the 3 county champions this year.
Yes.
They all are very explosive on offense, can score quickly, can score a lot of points.
Yeah, and how cool is it that two of them might be able to play a second time? Usually that's not the case when they go to the playoffs. It's sort of break off and every man for themselves. And South Carolina and Liberty didn't used to be in the same, or when they were in the same region, but not everybody made the playoffs in the older days, and it was a little tougher to make the playoffs in that regard. It's still tough to win in the playoffs, but looks like going to be a kickoff there for Winters Mill. Still trying that razzle-dazzle in the backfield, and still having it with Luke Snyder. Almost the same play. This time they did a better job sort of snuffing that out. But
right. One of the questions and one of the marks of a good team really is, how are you going to come back from adversity? What are you going to do after you lose? And let's take a look at what these teams have done. Westminster lost a really heartbreaking game against South Carroll, and back in week 3, they haven't lost since. South Carroll lost by 1 point to Liberty. As close a game as you could possibly get.
Right.
I mean, just a heartbreaking loss, and boom, they've won very lopsided games each of the last 2 weeks. And then, of course,
Right.
Liberty lost in overtime by a point last week to Westminster, and you saw what they did tonight. So really a mark of a good team. All 3 of those teams really have come back from those losses.
it's how you answer, right? It's how you answer from those sorts of games. It's the adversity that the coaches talk about all the time. And it sounds like it's cliches, but it really is out there. So anyway, Winters Mill's got to score some points here on offense if they want any chance to win this game. And running the ball into the line may not do it for them. That was number 5. Sean Restivo. Hey, I just wanted to know, I pulled this up on my my laptop here, my Chromebook, and just to look at South Carroll's all-time records. He was mentioning his coach, Chris Gavin, 3,027 yards. That's the all-time leader at South Carroll. Only 4 guys have 2,000, and now 5 with AJ. Jamar Williams was second at 2,339 yards. He graduated in 2016. Gavin graduated in 2014. Jimmy Mitri, if you can remember going back about 20 years, we remember him, Bob, 2,099 yards. He graduated in 2002. And the other guy with 2,000 yards, this one surprised me. You got to go back to 84, Keith Spicer. I know the name, a good player. Just a lot of running back then. And whoa, there's a big sack for Westminster on Caleb Crouch. That was number 54, Jamison O'Connell. Bursting through the line to make a big play for Westminster's defense.
It's a tough situation for Winters Mill right now.
Yeah, it is. This is mission critical now for the Falcons. You're way behind the sticks. Let's go to FSK and South Carroll and see a play from this game. They're still playing out there at Uniontown. I know it's 52-6. South Carroll, looks like the Cavs have it on offense inside the 30-yard line. And I think some of the backups are in now for South Carroll, but a nice play by the FSK Eagles to make a no gain there. Look, that was a 4th down play, so nice little bit of defense there for the Falcons, the Eagles, wrong bird.
Absolutely, though. Nice job to stop them on 4th there. They haven't had enough stops tonight, I guess, to really be in the game, but obviously not quitting.
And also, it's a chance for, I can't see every single number from the footage, but it's a chance for some of the guys, the reserves, the second string, to come in and try to show what they can do. Hey, this could be the only time they play in the next couple of weeks until you got to wait till next year. So, it's a chance for coaches to see what they have on film and maybe some guys that are going to be playing for some starting positions next year. And it's 52-12 now. FSK scored a touchdown earlier in the 4th quarter. Clock's got to be getting close to being to the end of the game here, but good to see Key, scoring some points here in the second half, and any sort of momentum they can take into next week's playoff round. The Eagles are going to be coming in on a losing streak, but I believe I think that's going to be 7 in a row, sadly, if you're a Key fan. But you're 0-0 next week in the playoffs, and they'll be in the 2A, 1A playoffs as well with Liberty and South Carroll and Winters Mill.
That's right. And then, Pat, over at Winters Mill, they did have to punt. They're in a tough situation. They're not built necessarily to come back and throw the ball a lot. And, of course, Westminster knows they have to throw the ball now, so they were able to put a lot of pressure on them and force them into a punting situation.
And if you're Westminster, I believe, like you said a minute ago, Bob, you're just going to want to run the ball here, run the clock out, and celebrate that victory.
Absolutely.
So Keys up by 40, 52-12. I'm sorry, South Carroll's up by 40, 52-12. Westminster leads 21-3 over Winters Mill. Both games in the 4th quarter on our CMSportsNet Friday Night Football extravaganza. One game's already in the books. Liberty beat Century 35-0. They were the first to kick off tonight. And
it's been a fun night. Been a lot of stress for you, though, Pat, hasn't it?
It's a lot to watch.
You had more stress than the coaches?
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't have to worry about answering to whether I should have kicked the ball or gone for it on fourth down. I get to just watch a bunch of screens and have my the good folks here with me at the CMSportsNet and the Media Center help me out and guide me in the right direction. But it's fun. It's fun. It's a little bit of a challenge, and we wanted to try something new for everybody and give them a different look of things, a little bit of a nod to the Red Zone channel. Now I have some more respect for the Scott Hansons and the Andrew Felicianos of the world who sit there behind a desk for 12 hours and give you commercial-free football all day. It's fun to watch, but it's a lot to do. We can go back to let's watch this play here from Westminster, and then we'll head back to FSK. Again, the Owls just trying to, of course, what do I say? When they need to run the ball, what do? They throw it on the first down, and they pick up some yardage.
Oh, that's a big
And
one.
there goes Mason Fisher, and that
They're
might
not gonna
be a
catch him.
touchdown. Wow, so you think they're going to just run the ball. They still have a couple passes up their sleeve, and that's a 70-yard touchdown for Mason Fisher from Kyrese Walker to Mason Fisher, and that one is going to put the proverbial nail in the coffin. That's going to be a 28-3 lead if the extra point is good for Westminster. So they're going to celebrate that victory. Let's go back to FSK, where I think some more points have been scored between the Cavaliers and the Eagles. We'll wait for the extra point, and then we'll go to Uniontown. Okay, we'll go there now. Here we go. South Carroll and FSK. I think there were some points being scored here. Or at least a long pass. Let's put it that way. A nice move. Is Key going to get on the board? This might have been their second touchdown. So that might have been when they got to 12. So that was a very nice play from South Carroll, or from Francis Scott Key. And I believe I see on Twitter that one's gone final. So I think the final score there is South Carroll 52 and Key 12. That was a nice catch and go by the Eagles, though, to put some more points on the board for Francis Scott Key. But it looks like a final score there, as South Carroll is going to, it has won 52-12. And again, the Westminster leads 28-3 in their game with 7.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Key had the 12. They probably were trying to go for 2 there. Not sure they were successful, but just seeing that it might be a final there in Uniontown, 52-12, and there's the handshake. So yeah, final score there was 52-12. South Carroll wins. They go to 8-1. They've lost 1 game in the last 2 years in the regular season, and 5-1 in the CCAL. And their one loss, Bob, like you mentioned, it was a 1-point loss to Liberty, 35-34. So
hard to imagine that close to 2 straight perfect regular seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And just hats off to Mike Krause. And I've said this a bunch of times already, but it's only been a couple years ago. They were 1-9 when there was when he played a 10-game schedule still. So to go from that to this has really been a market return. And South Carroll fans got to be gearing up for another deep playoff run for sure. As we go back to Westminster Winners Mill, Falcons had the ball at about the 30-yard line.
You talked about some of the most explosive players in the county, and we got to see Sam Evans a little bit earlier. We got to see A.J. Rodriguez repeatedly a little bit earlier, and now finally we got to see Mason Fisher do something special with the long touchdown.
That's a good point. Looked like number 1, Jordan Lopiano, making a tackle for Westminster, but a big run for Winners Mill. So they're still trying to run the ball, and like you said, Caleb Krause's completion percentage is good, but his attempts much fewer than the other quarterbacks in the county. So they are a run-first team, and you go with what your strength is, right? So they've shown tonight they can move the ball against a good defense.
No, absolutely. This game's not going to look particularly close based on the final score, but it was close. They gave the Westminster a real scare tonight.
They did. You're right. They did. I mean, it could have been 7-6 at halftime, and who knows what happens if they try to go for it on second or fourth down. And there's a nice run from the Falcons by number 2, Nico Baez. He's not going anywhere yet. And they're down inside the 35-yard line.
No, you're exactly right, though. That second quarter really hurt Winners Mill when they had opportunities to extend the lead. They turned it over when they had a chance to score, and then instead of being able to get a touchdown, they had to settle for a field goal attempt, and they weren't even able to make that field goal attempt. So down 7-3 instead of maybe up 10-7 or something like that.
Right, sure. And then a couple turnovers kind of killed them too, or at least one that I can think of. And then of course, but they got some turnovers too. So it was an evenly played first quarter, 2 quarters really, the first half. And Westminster's opened things up now a little bit. But Winners Mill trying to put some more points on the board as they go inside the 30-yard line on a run there. Stacked up by Westminster's defense. Oh, pushing the pile still. They haven't blown the whistle yet.
No, Winters Mill is going to be able to take a lot out of this game, and maybe that's going to propel them to something in the playoffs. Maybe that gives them a little more, a little bit of an opportunity to do something next week.
No doubt, no doubt. I think that was Sean Restivo on the run for Winters Mill. So it's Restivo and Snyder and Crouch that run the ball for the most part, and Nico Baez so almost a four-headed monster for Winters Mill's running attack. So second down and looks like about 5 or so from the 27-yard line. Oh. Well, Crouch, if he wanted to throw it, he wasn't going anywhere, and that was number 54. That's the second big play from Jameson O'Connell we've seen in the last quarter.
That's what I was just going to say. He has been very tough on the Winters Mill quarterback tonight.
Absolutely. Defensive lineman, 6'1", 230, listed on the roster, and he's using that athleticism. Were you going to call him the Winters Millions? I think you were.
Sorry about that.
I like that. But second and 5 goes to 3rd and 10, so a big tackle for loss from O'Connell. And Winters Mill, if you weren't in 4-down territory before, you're definitely in it now, down 28-3. Jailbreak. They got a screen set up. I think that was completed. That was a nice play.
That was a nice job. That's the way to beat that all-out pass rush, right?
Yeah. Look completed to Baez. Is that enough for a first down? If it wasn't, it's close. Yeah, I think it was.
Down.
Yeah, at the 30-yard line. A nice little play design there.
I believe that gets him in the red zone.
It sure does, down to the 20. Red zone alert, red zone alert. Falcons trying to get a touchdown in this game here. Fakes the one way. Crouch looking to throw it. And he does throw it. And it's caught in the end zone, and that is a touchdown, 20-yard touchdown to Will Snyder, number 17. And there you go. They wanted a touchdown, and they got one. So nice way to finish if you're the Falcons. I know it's probably going to be a loss, but not going away. We've seen that in all 3 games, Bob. I know they were lopsided losses for Key and Century, but we have seen in all 3 of these games competitiveness on both sides of the ball from all 6 schools.
No, you're absolutely right. And Winters Mill, they don't even think this game's over yet. They're not done. And that was a great job by Crouch, rolling out and finding a receiver wide open. I thought he might run it.
Me too.
He decided not to, and he fooled a few people.
He did. Maybe he fooled me. Here's Cook's extra point. Good. So that makes it 28-10. So, yes, it probably will be a Westminster win, but Winters Mill's not going anywhere, like you said, and there's still a few minutes to go in that fourth quarter. But regulation is winding down, and Bob, it's again, everyone's 0-0 next week, right? So the playoffs we kind of started new. Yes, you use some of that momentum, but some of these coaches, some of these teams that maybe didn't have the best regular season, it's their chance to sort of start fresh.
Absolutely. You never know what can happen when the playoffs start, but you've got 3 teams that have some really high hopes for the playoffs, too. These 3 teams that tied for the county championship this year, the first 3-way tie for the county in 21 years.
Yeah.
So they're all going into the playoffs on good momentum. And like you said, even there's a few things to be taken away from these games tonight for the other teams as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And there we just saw a replay of that nice touchdown grab by Will Snyder, number 17 for Winters Mill. So it's 28-10 there. South Carroll won 52-12, and Liberty beat Century. South Carroll beat FSK 52-12, and Liberty beat Century 35-0. And Week 9 is coming to a close here in the Carroll County Athletic League. We've had a lot of fun broadcasting our games of the week. We've had some games where we gave you some just highlights, and of course this wraparound, whip around, breakneck, three-way smorgasbord of football is almost coming to an end too. It's been a lot of fun. Winters Mill will pooch kick it. I was wondering if they might go off sides, but they just tried to pooch it, and it's unfortunately for Winters Mill, it fell into the hands of Mason Fisher. And if you're Westminster, you're already up to midfield again.
That's the last person you want to touch that ball. But anyway, it has been a lot of fun tonight, Pat. You're exactly right. You've certainly earned your money tonight.
Maybe another slice of pizza at the end of the night. Who knows? Our little post-game frivolity. But it looks like Westminster's got it at about the 48-yard line. Yeah, my voice is starting to go. I didn't think I would lose my voice, but it's starting to get a little gravelly here as we get to the end of the night. The bright lights are on me. It's sweaty in here.
Friday night lights, Pat.
Yeah, Friday night lights for me too, right in my eyes and in my big shiny forehead. That's okay. 1st and 10 for Westminster with late in this fourth quarter.
That was a
Yeah.
really nice. Regardless of what happens the rest of the way, that was a really nice drive by the Falcons. That
Yeah.
time they didn't give up. They,
No doubt.
obviously, they're disappointed. Westminster came out and played very well in the second half to take
They
control
tightened
of
it
this
up for
game.
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
No, from what I saw, and you can correct me, I didn't see any penalties for Westminster that killed them. There weren't any turnovers, of course. They played a much more tight, crisp second half.
Well, that's the story with Westminster. If they do not beat themselves, it's tough for anybody else to beat them.
That is true. That is true. I'm sure some coaches had some words of wisdom for them at the half. Get your act together sort of speech. But, at the end of the day, they're high school kids, right? You can only do so much preparation. I've heard coaches tell me that all year this year. You can prepare till the cows come home. And if the kid doesn't kick the ball right or throw the ball right or catch the ball right, it is what it is, right? So, to borrow one of your favorite phrases.
You are from Carroll County, aren't you? The cows come home.
Ah, good one. Not born, but certainly raised. Westminster over the 50 now, so into Falcon territory, and
Again on the carry, a gain of another 3 yards.
number 41 for the Owls, Jaden Segree with the carry there. So some rarely used players, maybe getting a chance here for Westminster.
Well, that's a good idea. You don't want to get anybody hurt at this point. That's going to be critical to you in the playoffs. Of course, you don't want anybody to get hurt, but you don't want to lose anybody at this point. That's going to be critical to you in the playoffs.
Yeah, it looks like maybe the quarterback now is number 1, Jordan Lopiano. He's the backup for Westminster. I do see number 1 calling the plays. So, like you said, the Fishers, the Walkers, the Simons and Dorseys, all those guys, Zoranskis, they're probably out, but that's where the depth comes in, right? And a Zoranski keeper was not to be denied by number 40, I think, for Winters Mill. 44, Will Litz on that tackle. So, again, Will Litz, their leading
Nice
tackler. Yeah, and he's their leader. Coming into the game, he was about 7th in the county with 54 tackles, so he's definitely got a couple more tonight. So the ball's just past midfield for Westminster, and they're trying to work this clock down and go home with a victory. It's a 4th down. They're going to punt here. They're going to wait the clock run down. If you're Westminster, you play the clock game here. And here's the punt. Well, it takes an Owls bounce right to the 20-yard line. And a couple of yards of a return, and that's about it.
At least he fielded it.
He did. He did field it. Coach Coon's happy for that. So a minute 13 to go. I think we're going to call this one a win for Westminster. And if we can take a look at the not quite official yet, but we're going to call them official, the Carroll County Athletic League county standings, and we can show you that indeed those 3 teams will finish 5-1. That's South Carroll, Westminster, and Liberty, and there they are. Again, Man Valley already had their county games finished. Regardless of what they do tonight in Poolesville, they finished basically second, tie for first with those other teams. But anyway, there's Winters Mill, which will be Winters Mill will actually be 2-4, Century 1-5, and FSK 0-6. But the 3 top ones, the 5-1, that's certainly the 3 most important ones, and they're the ones that are tied for first place in the county, and they will be sharing the county championship. Incomplete pass there.
Well, it was a fun season. It was a good season for all 3 of those teams, and all deserving really. It was hard to break this tie, obviously.
No, you're right.
All 3 of them played. I mean, the three of the best games we saw all season were when these 3 teams met up.
There's no doubt about it. You can't. There's Man Valley and Westminster was a good game too, but that was one again where Westminster sort of pulled away at the end. We did that game as a game of the week, but those 3 games were not to be missed, and we had 2 of them a game of the week, and we were there for the other one for some highlights and some coverage. So it was really a fun regular season. I'm looking forward to the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And there's a sack for Westminster.
You kind of want to see one team establish itself as the best, but certain seasons that just doesn't happen. These 3 teams were about as equal as you could get, really.
No doubt, I agree. A sophomore there, Connor Harris, defensive lineman, 6'4", 215, coming up with a big play there. And again, probably a guy who doesn't play too much, but he's playing now and trying to make the most of it. So a nice tackle there by the young 10th grader. Should be under a minute to play now in the 4th quarter here.
Westminster will end up as the 1st or the 2nd seed in their region for the playoffs, and they'll wind up drawing a team without a win, more than likely, for their first game.
South Carroll, I believe, will be the 1 seed in the 2A 1A West, and Liberty the 2, and they'll both have home games and probably play teams with 1 or 0 wins as well. So
So there'll be plenty of action still in Carroll County before this high school football season is over.
Yeah, no doubt. At least 2 weekends of it for sure. Right. And I think that's the last play of the game, guys. So we got a final score. Westminster's going to win. The final score 28. Westminster 28, Winters Mill 10. And there's your final score. And that does wrap up week 9 of the Carroll County, well, at least the Carroll versus Carroll portion of the Carroll County Athletic League regular season. I know Man Valley is playing Poolsville down in Montgomery County tonight. But in the county, you got 3 matchups. They're all finished up. The favored teams won, and that means, like we mentioned, a 3-way tie for the Carroll County Championship. Bob, it's been fun. I really appreciate it. I really did have a good time here tonight. A little bit of stress, but that's what you expect, right, on the last game with so much at stake. And I appreciate your help. And, of course, me in the studio is different than you back in command center with everybody else back there. How was it sort of watching all those games like that and having a good time?
Well, if you think you were stressed, imagine how those guys felt trying to stop A.J. Rodriguez and Mason Fisher and Sam Evans. No, it was a lot of fun. This was great being able to catch some action from 3 different corners of the county. Hopefully we were able to bring you some nice highlights when we couldn't get you live action, and a lot of good live look-ins. It was a lot of fun for us. The whole season's been a lot of fun doing the game of the week. I know you've enjoyed bringing in some old, not old of course, but retired football coaches and seasoned veteran football coaches with you to be able to comment on some of these games. And we've just had a really good time.
It was great. I mean, John Seaman, Ken Johnson, Mike Coons twice for us. I mean, just guys that have been coaches in the county for many years. Bill McKenna as well, yeah. Their expertise, their knowledge just really helped us get through some of those games of the week. And I know they made me sound a lot smarter, that's for sure. So that's not that difficult to do sometimes, but they definitely did a good job. And we're into our post-game show now, a post-game report anyway. And, of course, it's brought to you by Genova's To Go. Locations in Westminster, Hampstead, Manchester, Hanover, and coming soon, Eldersburg. Genova's Pizza, Pasta, Subs, and more. We'd like to thank Genova's for all their help with us during the year with promoting high school sports in Carroll County.
Absolutely. That place is coming soon, right?
Eldersburg, you got it, coming soon.
Congratulations want to go out also to the 3 county champion football teams. Congratulations to Liberty, South Carroll, and Westminster for finishing the season 5-1 and absolutely establishing themselves as the 3 top teams.
Yeah, no doubt. And we mentioned it all night, and it's true. They were the top 3 teams all year, and they proved it. And they all finished 5-1. They all get to share it. I know they'd like to all have it outright. Liberty did have a chance last week to get it outright, but wasn't meant to be. And let's just take a look at some of the highlights of some of the things tonight. This was A.J. Rodriguez scoring that first touchdown, setting the tone for South Carroll, Bobby. He really just, once he gets out in that open field, we say it all night, but I mean, good luck.
We've been saying it for 2 years.
Yeah, no doubt. And just South Carroll pouring it on early in this game, and just like Liberty did with Century, their ability to score quickly and capitalize on mistakes. Here is again that Nate Bohr 2-point conversion. What a catch by Nate Bohr. I know it was only worth 2 points, but it should have been worth 6.
I think that was the catch of the night for sure.
I think you're right. Here's Westminster, Kyrese Walker. That's a great fake from that was that touchdown late in the fourth quarter there. And his ability to use those legs. Lamar Jackson-like, he's tough to beat when he gets out to the outside too, much like an A.J. Rodriguez. There's a converted receiver who's the quarterback now for the Owls, doing a great job. And so that was their attack, that running attack for Westminster against Winters Mill. And he got a long touchdown pass with Carter Mazalewski. Looked like maybe it was Jackson Strelzy that caught that one. It's hard, again, the numbers are a little tough to see, but just long plays, long chunk plays for South Carolina. Here's A.J. Rodriguez again. And when his ability just to shift around the pile like that, when he cuts back there, you can forget it. I mean, you see FSK's defender laying on the ground there. It's not your fault, young man. He's a hard guy to tackle. So just a lot of A.J. Rodriguez, a lot of Carter Mazalewski. I think he had 2 touchdown passes. And those guys make plays. And again, as much as we mentioned Westminster making those plays, when South Carroll's playmakers go, they can make state claim to be one of the top teams.
Oh, absolutely. All 3 of these teams went into the playoffs just exactly the way they planned to.
FSK didn't quit, though. They got back down the end and did score some points. They avoided the shutout. Century did not. Liberty won that game 35-0. FSK cut it to. They scored 12 points and were ability to make that one a little bit more respectful on their end of the thing. But I'll tell you what, that's going to do it. Everybody take a breath. and relax, everybody. Now the week 9 is over, but we're not done. We're going to be back for a lot more high school sports coverage. We got girls soccer playoffs next week. We got high school football playoffs coming up soon. Who knows if we're going to make another journey down to the Naval Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis, where the state championship games are played. I wouldn't be surprised if we're there. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a couple teams playing in the Thanksgiving weekend and messing up our holidays, but that's okay. That's how it goes, right?
Absolutely. I
high school sports.
Cannot wait to see what the next few weeks bring.
Me neither. Well, for Bob Blueball, thanks again. I'm Pat Stoetzer from the Carroll Media Center, CM Sportsnet, Friday Night Football. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you in the playoffs.